Good morning, everyone. I will call this Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting to order, and it's Tuesday, July 16th, 2019. Press your roll call. She did mine, I thought.
No, I just logged you in. I'm sorry. Yep. Okay. 25 present, 2 are excused.
Has our open meeting statement been fulfilled on a legal basis, Clerk?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. We have an agenda before us.
Do you want to do silent meditation?
Oh yeah, we'll back up here. Before we stand for the pledge to the flag and the silent meditation, it's been a tough week for our Waupaca County family. I should say a tough month. Not too long ago, suddenly, sister of Terry Toos-Levy passed away. And then recently, our Kyle Fisher, the highway's wife, passed away. They were young people. It's tough. So please remember them in their prayers this morning. Please stand for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Okay, now we got the agenda to approve. Supervisor Mork.
Move we approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Mork, approve the agenda as presented. Do we have a second? Mr. Nygaard?
Second.
And Mr. Nygaard seconded. Any comments or questions? Let's vote.
Last chance to vote. That motion carries 26-0. Let the record reflect that Supervisor Terry Murphy is present.
We have the minutes of June 18th, 2019. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Gerald Murphy?
Move to approve the minutes of June 19th as written.
Okay, there is a motion by Mr. Gerald Murphy to approve the minutes as written. Supervisor Lair?
Second.
And a second by Supervisor Lair. Questions? Discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. That motion carries 26-0.
Ordinances, amendments to the General Code of Ordinances 7A. Repeal sections 1003, 1008, and 1009 of Chapter 10, Public Nuisance Health Hazards, and create a Code of Ordinance, Chapter 52, Public Health. Yeah, you can come forth, Jed, please.
So I'm introducing a new chapter, Chapter 52, which is a combination of some new content and then bringing along some content that was from Chapter 10 into Chapter 52 to create the new chapter. The new content is around human health hazards. That's some language that we really need to have in our local ordinance. We have some authority within state administrative code, and adopting into the local ordinance gives us a little bit more footing when we're addressing human health hazards. Adopted the definition of a human health hazard right from Wisconsin Administrative Code 254, and then brought in some other information, more definitions, and some enumerated pieces. The enumerated pieces are a few of the pieces that came in from Chapter 10 under nuisances. They're more related to health hazards. And we didn't bring forward some that were a little bit more on the nuisance end. The rest of the content in Chapter 52 is all of our licensing and inspection requirements brought into Chapter 52 that were in Chapter 10. And Ryan will have a little bit more on Chapter 10 on what's staying and what's going. But if there's any questions on Chapter 52.
First, let us have a motion. Supervisor Johnson.
I move to repeal the sections mentioned.
There's a motion by Supervisor Johnson. Do we have a second? Supervisor Craig?
Second.
And a second by Supervisor Craig. Discussion, questions? Supervisor Craig.
I'm sorry, were you just still on from your second? I apologize, my bad.
Guess not, no questions. Please vote.
Last chance to vote. That motion carries 26-0.
It's 7B is to repeal Code of Ordinance, Chapter 10, Public Nuisance / Health Hazards, and recreate a Code of Ordinance, Chapter 10, Public Nuisance. Good morning.
Morning. Like Jed had just mentioned, this repeal recreate of Chapter 10 takes out a lot that we had in there related to health hazards, and that's now being put into Chapter 52. Beyond that, we had discussions with the Sheriff's Department, Highway, and some of the other issues that they had in Chapter 10 that no longer apply, or I should say, they have other ordinances where they could use to enforce certain things that were in the original Chapter 10. So what you'll see in this version here, can we bring up the track change?
Sure can.
So in this track change copy, you'll see, like we had just gone through with the sections related to public health, those have already been taken out. So, and the other areas that have also been taken out are the areas, like I just said, the section under peace and safety related to sheriff and highway, those are areas that are taken out. They're dealing with those in their own other ordinances. Beyond that, what's left is what planning and zoning is intending to use for public nuisance. So what we're trying to do here is really redefine and reuse how we define or how we handle our junk complaints that we have throughout the county. As it stands right now in our zoning ordinance, we have to call people essentially a salvage yard without proper permits. And we didn't feel that made a lot of sense to handling it that way. So that's why this ordinance made sense to use this instead. So is there any questions in terms of what we have on here in terms of the roadmap that we have? The real section here that makes the most sense, or I should say the biggest issue for us, was section 10.07 on the enforcement violations and penalties. That's really what sets up our roadmap for how we're going to handle nuisance issues into the future. Essentially says that we're going to be, once we received initial complaint, we go out to the property, we issue letters to say we'd like to get out and inspect it, to get an inventory set up in terms of what is a violation, what's not, and then going from there in terms of potential circuit court prosecution.
Do you have a motion for approval? Supervisor Zog.
I move you approve.
There's a motion by Supervisor Zog for approval. Mr. Nygaard.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Nygaard. Questions or discussion? Supervisor Craig.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan, for redlining the things that were taken out earlier that I had asked about.
Certainly.
I still have a question, and I brought this up at the Planning and Zoning Committee. This is, wow, strict. junk is defined as 5 days within any 30-day period. And I think the one that I related to the most, which is not the most serious, was because you took it from Shawano County, I was then able to look at Shawano County's ordinance and see what did they have that we didn't bring along. And one of them was, this ordinance is not intended to prohibit the orderly storage of firewood for fuel. And as I drove here, there are many places that have wood sheds that do not have sides. It's not an enclosed building where people keep it. Rather, it is placed outside or it's simply covered with a roof. And I'm still concerned that if, well, there are at least 3 or 4 places as I came to Waupaca that has this, if we're putting wood as part of junk, this could qualify because it's not, it is in public view, and that's what you're saying. If you can see it from the road, if you can see it from your neighbor's property, if it's in public view, it can be considered a nuisance. And I think we need to exempt that or to properly, the orderly storage of firewood for fuel. So my question is, why haven't you decided to bring that one along? And I won't bring up the other ones of idle but inoperable farm equipment, you know, those other ones that we also didn't bring along. But I think it's really hard to have everything stored within a building. And I understand, because I've talked to you, that we're not going after everyone, that it's going to be the people that are really, well, I won't describe it, but you know junk when you see it. So I just want to deal with, why didn't we put in orderly storage of firewood for fuel?
So the idea with firewood is that it has to first constitute a nuisance in order for us to actually take it in terms of an enforcement. And so, like you say, there are several people throughout the county that have firewood in their front yard, their backyard. There's a lot of people that burn wood. It's a very common thing. But in order for us to be, there's also an opportunity for that to turn into other issues. So in terms of public health safety, if there's issues in terms of there's a way that they have wood in their front yard that is causing it to be a nuisance, that's why there's something that we have then to move forward with in terms of something we can do about it. And so when it was brought up to the Planning and Zoning Committee, there's nothing from the committee that said that we would like to have that added in or taken out.
Mr. Smith?
Can you help me, Ryan, with noxious fumes, odors? I may be missing it, but where did that end up going?
I believe that was taken out.
Yep, it's taken out. I just don't know where it ended up going. Which ordinance did it get put back into?
I believe that got taken out completely. And the reason why that was taken out was there's no way for us to measure that or determine that.
That alarms me, because we all know that there's certain pits in Waupaca County that get complaints about noxious fumes. And if you've been there, they're there. So now these people don't have a leg to stand on. There's nothing in the ordinance that can enforce that. You can go out to their property, Ryan, and you can smell it, and you know you don't want to live there.
And I've had those same complaints. They've come to this office as well. And so the way that was written before, a substantial number of people, a substantial portion of the population would have to be affected by that, by those odors. And so it was really hard to determine. We weren't able to really enforce the public nuisance as it was prior, because how do we determine what is a substantial amount of the population of the county?
Well, the solution is not to take that out, because there are several complaints, and there are complaints all across Bear Lake about it. Ever since before I was even on the county board, this has been brought to my attention, and I've been out to that property. Sure. And now it's been taken out. That's not right.
It was taken out because it was unenforceable.
It's unenforceable because we choose not to enforce it. It's enforceable. That's my opinion on that.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 20-6.
Okay, number 8 is resolutions. Resolution number 11, 2019-20, Family Court Commissioner Salary.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors does hereby authorize a monthly salary of $2,325 for the Family Court Commission position effective upon passage by the County Board.
Mr. Zog?
Move we approve the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Zog to approve. Supervisor Pullman? And a second by Supervisor Pullman. Questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. The motion carries 26-0.
We're down to reports. Number 9, Drug Court. Judge Klussman, Cortland Fritz, and Jacqueline Meyer, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to be on the agenda today. I'm not here for you to vote on anything. As many of you know, I think the county board has changed a little bit in the last couple of years, but a couple of years ago, myself and some other folks were appearing in front of the county board and asking that you set some funds aside for a drug court program. And you agreed to do that. And since that time, I've thought I really need to come back at some point and just tell you thank you for doing that. I think myself and the whole drug court team feel like we really are making a difference for some of our citizens in the county that are struggling with addiction. We really feel like the program is a benefit to our county. For me, it's probably the most rewarding thing I've done as a judge is being part of the drug court program. We're seeing these folks come before me week after week, and we see them kind of turning their lives around, and it's really pretty inspiring. So I asked to come here today just to say thank you, first of all. And then I thought I would bring a couple of our graduates to talk to you and let you know kind of their story and their experience in drug court. The drug court program takes at least 14 months to get through the program. So we started the program in November of 2017, and we're just now getting some people that are making their way through the program and graduating. So far, we've had 7 graduates. 2 of them are with us today to just tell you a little bit about their experience in drug court. And then we have Jacqueline Meyer's father as well, Dennis Meyer. But so, Jackie, why don't you first tell us a little bit about your program? And then if there's time available, we have a couple of videos that were produced by one of our participants in drug court, and he's done a great job on these videos. If you have time, we could show you them. They're fairly short, 6 minutes?
6 is the longest one.
6 is the longest one.
We'll make time.
Okay. All right, so first we have Jackie Meyer here, who was the first female graduate from our drug court program. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie. In November 2017, I was accepted into the drug court program, and that began my journey to finally get my life back. During the duration of the 14 months, I did multiple random UAs, which are drug screenings. I was put into outpatient treatment through the probation office, which taught me a lot about myself and why I was making the decisions that I was making in the years following up to this. I was put into a group that was called Thinking for Change, which goes over why you think the way you do, like criminal thinking, and why your thoughts lead to some of the actions that they do. I'm sorry, I'm nervous.
You're kind of an intimidating group. But
No,
Yeah.
just relax. We're really pretty fun people.
The program is extremely rewarding. If you would have asked me a few years ago, 3 years ago, in 2016, where I thought I would be at this point, I would have thought dead, for sure. I didn't care about myself. I didn't care about anyone. I was just kind of looking to eventually die with the life that I was living. Drug court opened my eyes to a life that I never thought was imaginable. I didn't ever think that I had it in me, and drug court brought it out in me. It paved the path. It paved the way for me to change my life. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay. Yep.
all I
Thank
have.
you, Jackie.
Thank you very much.
And our first graduate from the drug court program was this young man, Cortland Fritz, and so he agreed to come and talk to you about his story as well.
I firstly want to say thank you all for letting drug court happen. Thanks for funding that. It impacted my life 100%. As Jackie said, we had numerous UAs. We had counseling, outpatient counseling. We had to meet with our coordinator, Aaron Holt, who, along with our probation agents, held us accountable for what we had to do. 35 years running around, drugging it up, not caring about anything or anybody, was mainly the problem areas. You get stuck in a rut and it's really hard to change. I was using for, like I said, over 35 years, and drug court had saved my life. As Jackie said, I would probably be dead or in jail or in an institution. I could not manage my life. Drug court taught me how to manage my life. The accountability for being on time, for showing up, and for making the right choices. Also thinking for change. Think before you react on your life. I had no job. I lost my license. I was poor. I was living off my mom and my wife at the time. And this made me realize that I am in charge of my life, and I never was. The drug was. And thanks for drug court. I really appreciate that. It did save my life. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So I'll just mention that Cortland now has a job. He lives on his own. He supports himself. He has a valid license. He's a productive member of our community, and that's been a big change. We also have Dennis Meyer, who's Jackie's dad, here to say a couple of things to you as well.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
The morning of April 30th, 2017. I got a phone call that said our daughter got overdosed and she was on her way to the hospital. On the way to the hospital, I thought about her life and who she was and how we got to the point where we're at. About the day that she was born, on a stormy Halloween day. How she grew up to be this bright little girl that cared more about her friends and how they got along than anything else. How she became a good student, and how that day we had a graduation party, someone had brought marijuana to it, and she told us they had to leave right now. And then as she went on to school, and then, got into the workforce and had a young son who, just the cutest little boy. and everything seemed to be going well. I remember I was on a business trip into Madison, and I got to see Representative Nygren as he was speaking to marshal support for the funding bill he was looking for opioid addiction, because his daughter had gone through that. And in listening to him talk, you could hear the emotion and everything that the man had gone through. Little did I know that within a couple years, I'd live that too. So as we went down the path of trying to find rehabilitation and recovery, I did a lot of research as to what works and what doesn't, and trying to find the resources to help, realized that there just wasn't any. There was a very, very limited amount of resources that could help, especially in the circumstances we were in. Reading that going to rehab, which is not a cheap endeavor, because we wound up sending Jackie a couple times, but rehabilitation, the success rate was very low, 15%. The average person to go through rehab was about 7 times before they finally were able to successfully step away from that life. So, you know, you put that in perspective. At the same time, we had to live our lives, and again, we have a grandson that had to be taken care of, and a daughter that we had to watch out for because she was not capable of doing it. And all of the emotions, the anger, the pain, and everything just comes through. Growing up in the 70s and playing in rock and roll bands, I knew a little bit about the drug culture. So, and I saw what it did to people. I remember visiting a fellow that I played in a group with at a nursing home because he had overdosed and that spent his entire adult life there. So there was a lot of fear. And I know that in what the judges said about the funding and such, in my professional life, I was a senior procurement manager, and I managed 12-digit budgets over several facilities. And I absolutely hated budget time. I don't know about you folks, but that was just terrible, because every kind of project or any time you wanted to do something had to be justified. And if I was off by 1% or 2%, that was real money. And so I'd have to go to my board or to my senior vice president and say, you know, working with this group or doing business with this group, although it might not make as much fiscal sense, it was the right thing to do. Because these are sometimes very small mom and pop operations, young operations are just getting off the ground. And you look back and you looked at it's not just that business side of it, but the ancillary businesses and such that were associated to it inside the little towns or what have you. So I dealt with hundreds of different businesses, from small mom and pop operations to Fortune 500 companies. And sometimes you had to do the right thing because it was the right thing. Funding this program was the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if anyone ever has any questions about the drug court program, how it works, my door is always open. We have drug court every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. It's an open court, so I welcome all of you to come. We are going to show the videos, and then if anybody has any questions right now, I'm certainly willing to answer them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Joyce?
I just want. Is my mic on?
No, it is. And I think, is this video the one that features Cortland and Jackie? All right, so this is a video that was made by one of our drug court participants, and it features Jackie and Cortland.
I just want to say, if any supervisor has never gone to drug court graduation, you should go. It's very emotional. It's a wonderful program.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'll continue to invite you to all of our graduations. You're welcome to come to them. They can be pretty emotional.
Would you begin by discussing how addiction has affected your life?
Let me think of the impacts that my addiction has created. I was convicted the last time in 2017, some meth and some heroin. I was relying on drugs for happiness, burned many bridges, hurt a lot of people, not wanting to get up in the morning.
That's the one sure thing is that if you keep going back, it'll keep getting worse. And I tried to take my own life with heroin in the Walmart bathroom in New London. Somebody had found me, called 911, and I had woken up in an ambulance and then brought me to the hospital, and there was 2 police officers waiting outside my room. I remember my dad rushed to the hospital to see me, and I didn't even want to see him. I was so upset that I wasn't successful in my attempt because I was just so sick of living the life that I was living and thought that this was the only way out, and now I couldn't even manage to get that right.
Yeah, my name is Cortland.
My name is Jacqueline Meyer.
I've been addicted for like 35 long years.
Not having partied or done anything in high school, I kind of went off the deep end.
Drugs in Waupaca, like the whole county, is pretty much a phone call away. I believe that prescription drugs and street drugs are the same. Easy, very easy to become more addicted to pain meds and prescription drugs than probably street drugs.
Everything meaningful was gone. There was heroin, and that was the one that I had fell in love with. The first couple times I did it, I got me sick, and I thought, what's the fun with this? But for some reason, something kept calling me back to try it again and give it another shot.
And they will do anything to get them drugs. They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, some would even kill.
All of a sudden, everything was okay. It was like, the best way to describe it, I've heard other people describe it this way, it's like a hug from God when you use it.
It's hard. The disease of addiction has many paths for a person to take.
I'm still able to hold this job, thankfully, because of my dad. He had started this company and put me in charge of the bookkeeping. It was nice to be able to have a job, but I found a way to ruin that as well. Being in charge of all the books and the money and how everything looked and being smart with numbers, I had made entries into it and embezzled a couple of $1,000s to fund my drug habit.
So to be forgiven for some of the things that you do in active addiction, probably not.
I was a stranger in their home, somebody that they didn't want around.
Being looked down on my whole life. I can honestly say it is an illness, it is a disease, and it's called addiction.
At this point, I felt like I literally lost everything, and what was the point? The person I was with, they got picked up and busted. I was in the middle of it, and being on probation, they put me on a probation hold for 77 days. While I sat in jail, the first time I met my probation agent ever was when she came up to tell me she was going to revoke me. I didn't want that, though. I talked to my dad, and he fought for me again and was able to get my probation agent to consider giving me another chance, which she did, and that was drug court.
I will say over and over, drug court had saved my life.
I got out of jail in December of 2017 on drug court. I decided to give this an honest try.
By telling your story, your past, on your drug use, helps the addict 100% to recover.
This time around, I really wanted to change.
I did my 14 months in drug court. I did all the treatments. I called every day for my UAs. I UA'd a bunch of times in 14 months. And I graduated drug court
Cortland is our very first graduate.
I'm so proud of you, so I would ask everybody to give Jackie a round of applause today.
Cortland and Jackie were the first and second to successfully complete Waupaca County's drug court program.
If you are an addict and if you need the help, you definitely need to put it out there that you need help. By no means is an addict a bad person.
A little trouble with the video this morning, so I'm hoping I can get another one.
Maybe just the real short one that's
Okay.
played. There's a quick video that's played at the Rosa Theater before all of the movies that will play that as well, and then I'll ask if anyone has any questions.
Addiction affects nearly 50% of Americans in one way or another. If you or someone you know suffers from addiction, call 211 or text 898211 plus your zip code, or visit 211 Wisconsin for resources to assist in your recovery. Addiction is only terminal for those who do nothing about it.
Just want to thank you so much, Judge, and you successful graduates, and Dad, for all the things you put into it in your lives, and what a true great story. You deserve a standing ovation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Does anyone have any questions that you want me to answer right now?
Supervisor Zog does, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Judge Klessman, I don't have any questions, but I just want to make a couple of comments. Back in 2016, when we tried to get this thing going, we had a few disagreements, and ultimately, by amending the 17 budget in 16, we put $60,000 into getting this thing started off. And we owe a big thanks to Theta Care as well for their initial contributions. And I was happy to chair a subcommittee with Supervisor Pullman to get this thing off the ground. And I think all of us here should realize that the initial money we put into this has paid dividends back to the taxpayers of Waupaca County and everybody. Hundreds of fold over and above. And we've got two people here that are now productive members of our society and assets rather than a liability if nothing would have happened. And the other thing we owe Judge Klessman, congratulations, thanks, everything. If you've never been in a drug court, please go. She runs the place like she has all these people as her children and does an outstanding job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the whole county board.
Mr. Nygaard has a...
Thank you. Just commenting on a statement made in the last clip, it's only terminal for those who do nothing about it. And from my personal experience, I have two brother-in-laws and a sister-in-law who are dead from not doing anything about their drug addictions. And I have a nephew who is, he's in jail right now. And he isn't to the point where he wants to do anything about it yet. So this is a big deal, and I'm so glad you people decided you wanted to do something about it before it's too late.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to item B, the drone footage presentation of the new highway facility update. Supervisor Fleece, Chad Logan McHugh, and Mr. Casey Beiersdorf for Highway Commissioner.
Okay, now if I can find our stuff.
All right, good morning. I know in the back it's kind of hard to hear, so I'll speak up a little bit. The new highway facility project continues to roll along like it has the last several months. Successful, on track, on project progress and financial progress. We just keep plugging away month after month. More of the subcontractors than myself, but being involved in the Monday morning meetings and the odd phone calls that you get on things that a highway commissioner wouldn't even think about, but yet it's still heavily involved in the project, such as where do you want that switch for that fan, and it all makes sense why they're asking me so many questions. But I'm proud to be part of the new highway shop project. Our timeline is rapidly approaching us to occupy. I think I'd like to start, Jill, do you have that new the drone photo? The last the last several months, Chad McHugh, our construction foreman in the blue, and his son Logan have provided you drone footage. We've invited them here today to share a little bit more about their experience of their I guess piloting experience. So with that, if Logan could stand up with your drone. I don't know if you've given it a name yet because it's a rather new one, but this is our pilot that's been providing all this footage to you. So you have to probably get a microphone to talk into.
Yeah, I can be loud.
All right.
There's this one too.
Can I take it or no?
It's a stand, so I don't know. Maybe just stand close to it.
I'll just be loud.
Yeah, okay.
So over the last several months, or whenever this project started, I've been invited out to the site to start taking pictures of the process of this building. And at the start of the process, I actually had a different drone. But this whole process has encouraged me to get more into the hobby. And I have actually upgraded this now. And just Casey and my father has been really supportive, and I've been doing pictures of this whole thing on my spare time and volunteer time. And it's been a really fun process so far. So
the drone footage you see behind you was taken this morning, so it's as up to date as we can get it.
Yeah, we went out this morning and did this. So this is the new shop.
You see the big concrete slabs being placed outside. Them are being placed by Martel. They're going to go all the way around the left side of the building as we're looking down on it. So they're about half done with the exterior concrete. That there's a lone concrete slab that kind of sits out in the open here. That's going to be an area where that we create bins for tire that's collected off the roads. It's for gravel. It's for cold mix. So we're going to make compartment bins after that. A lot of the dollars that we had spent with our highway department crews was getting rid of a lot of the topsoil and clay piles off to the right side of the picture. We've hauled a lot of clay away. Fortunately, we found a resource nearby where they were looking to also close their manure pit up, so we were able to get rid of a lot of our unsuitable wet clays. This year in particular was super wet, so we had a lot of clay to get rid of, which was the supplement to the foundry sand that had been getting hauled in for our fill. So we're pretty fortunate to be have Chad and Logan on board to provide all of these drone videos and photos for us. The next couple big steps that are coming down the line here is 7 to 8 weeks from now, all of the furniture should be getting moved into that facility. And then by about mid-September, Brent and the IT team are looking at providing our computers and our IT networks and our switches and cables and getting that all fired up. The camera security systems should be all in place at that time. And then October 13th is still the final deadline where Myron hands the keys over to our highway department and says, here you go, it's yours to use. And that there is no projected changes or delays on that yet. It's pretty neat. The carpet's pretty much the carpet's within a week or two to get placed as soon as the painting gets done, and there's just so many different things along the way with 23 different subcontractors. I'd say of the 23 subcontractors, half of them are already done and out of there. It's the remaining final touches finishing the job up. So what I'm thinking with the Highway Committee is sometime in early November, that's when we have our ribbon cutting ceremony. I would like for our department to occupy the building for a week or two to get our bearings, and then November, it's going to sneak up on us shortly, and we're going to occupy our new facility. So with that, we can go through the project progress report. It's just photos given to us from Myron. The front side of the building, Falks is currently landscaping and adding topsoil around the exterior part of the building, and that's a huge feat for our department, so we can get grass to start to grow the later half of the month. Scrolling down, there's a couple more photos. The Easy Glide is the name of the door company that's installing our 26 garage doors for this facility. So there's a lot of entries, a lot of open holes in the walls at this point. The inside of the building is now getting painted, and it's like a whitish, kind of like the colors of these walls, so it really brightens it up compared to the gray concrete and the gray steel that you see now. Right now, when you walk in the building, the solar tubes that come through the roof are as bright as the lights in this room, so you really don't even have to turn lights on during the daytime if it's nice outside, because it's just super bright. So that's going to be a huge cost savings for our department. The brickwork and the exterior stuff is primarily done. There's the huge American flag that's going to get placed on the County Highway A side of the building. Right now we're going back and forth on getting the colors of the American flag correct. You wouldn't believe how that sometimes can be. It was going to look like Papa Smurf like a week ago, so we're getting the right color blue in there. Of course, the painter wants his space and the electrician wants his space, and they can't work on top of one another. So that's kind of, I don't know, it's project management. Myron does a good job at mediating the two subcontractors wanting to be there at the same time. We can keep, that's the break room in that photo. This department will have a full-time generator. We've never had a backup generator that if the lights went off, basically our department was at a standstill. So if you could imagine in a big snowstorm, tornado event, we can't run, now we can. So we've got a big diesel backup generator that'll kick in, and it pretty much powers up the whole building. It's just not certain areas. The whole facility will be able to be generated now, from fuel islands, everything. One thing I don't like is all of the outlets in the building. If the generator kicks on, we've colored them outlets red, and the red right now doesn't look neat to me, but it has a purpose why the outlets are red, but it doesn't match everything else. So little things like that I'm learning along the way. Any other, let's go ahead and let's fly the drone, and maybe we can knock some paper off your desk. But
yeah, warning, paper might go everywhere again, but make a funny face, come and take a picture of everyone.
So with this camera, it's, I don't know, Chad, if you want to talk about how the camera articulates and...
Yeah, the camera's on a gyro, and he can control up and down with the camera. He can also, that whole drone turns side to side to take pictures and videos. It's a 4K camera, so it's very high resolution. We had the screen in the, when we had the highway committee, when we showed the screen in there, was a much better TV screen, and we had a really good high-resolution picture on there. So it's pretty high-tech. He can also do live feeds on Facebook or anything. He's getting to be pretty technical. I don't really know all the ins and outs of it. I'm not as technical with it as he is, but
Just by using the project on our new highway shop, Myron has offered to maybe pick them up a backup battery. They want to have them fly some other construction projects. I know, Logan, you've been involved with more than just our shop as you've been getting more and more into it. You're a pilot, and he's got to work with the Bureau of Aeronautics. He can't exceed, was it 400 feet before you get into aircraft zones, and so you've got to be careful what you do with that high-tech equipment. Anything else you want to tell us?
Does anyone have any questions?
I just want to say how this kind of got started was his old drone. He allowed me to take it with me one day, and I was just messing around with the guys. We started stripping the property, started stripping the topsoil off the property for the new highway facility, and I brought the drone out there just to kind of buzz them, to take some pictures of them guys, just to show them guys for kind of a joke or whatever. Well, I took the pictures home, and he looked at them, and he started laughing at me because I didn't do a good job. He said my fingerprint was on the screen, and so he's like, "Dad, I'll just do it." And that's kind of how it started, and we had fun, and then we showed Casey the pictures, and Casey's like, "Well, that's really neat," and I'm like, "Well, we'll just keep doing it," and we did, and he's been having fun doing it, and he's been, the whole county, all the workers, and the highway committee and everybody's treated him pretty good, and he's having a good time doing it, and he thank you for his support, and he's enjoying it. So
this is the audience that we've been showing the video to for the last 12 months or more.
Logan, did you get our picture back here too?
No. I spin it on.
I don't give the SD card back in. Where'd it go?
Logan, you're going to be as...
Something like that cost. The original price on this one is $1,400. But I got a sweet deal and I got it for $600.
He's good friends with the chief of police of the town that we live in, and he's a big pilot and big into drones, and they kind of hooked up together and they fly together, and the chief wanted a new drone, and this was his. And he said, his wife said he couldn't buy a new one until he sold this one, and he came and offered Logan to buy it, and he's like, "I'll take it." So.
Now I can actually take a photo.
How many RPMs do they go?
They hover at like 500 RPMs, but I can get this thing up to 40 miles an hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, the RPMs is about 500 RPMs, but I can get this up to, I think, 900 RPMs, and it goes 40 miles per hour when I wanted to do that. Okay, so now I'll actually take a picture because I forgot the SD card.
I'll make sure you get a big picture. Stand outside so you get dick in there.
I don't think you have to do it.
I've been in parts of the world where drones are as big as this room and can drop bombs on people. So they come in all shapes and sizes, and they're worth the pictures are worth 1,000 words. You've saved me a lot of time up here by just showing your video. So thank you.
I have a friend in Waupaca County a couple months ago bought a drone, and he put it up in the air and went away and never got it to come back. Come on.
That's what I did as my first one.
Did you really?
Yeah, I got a really tiny one as my first one, and it was an indoor one, but of course I had to take it outside.
Yeah.
And I maybe had it 50 feet in the air, and it disconnected from the controller, and it just kept going.
Yeah. I was going to check with the sheriff's department to see if they find any stray drones. Thanks a lot. That was really good. Yeah.
What flight flight time do you have?
Each batch, well, it's advertised as 30 minutes, but with actually flying around, I can get at least 20 minutes in. Per batch. Yeah, this is the battery right here. So, yeah. Yeah, at 15%, it will automatically fly back home and land where it took off.
Wow.
High tech.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, I think we're going to listen to Ms. Jill Lodewagen, our county clerk's going to talk about her conference report.
How do I follow that? I mean, drug court first and drone, and now you get to hear me talk about a conference I went to. But Chair Kaplan did ask me to talk about the conference that I attended. It's the Wisconsin County Clerks Association Conference. It was held in Hudson, Wisconsin, hosted by St. Croix County, June 23rd through the 26th. Monday was a breakout day for, it was a Train the Trainer day, and the things that I chose to attend included some tax deed in rem session put on by St. Croix Corporation Council. I attended some training for WISVote, which is from the Wisconsin Election Commission. WISVote is their database system that is all the elections, all the database for all elections are done on WISVote. And as we are the supplier, or we do it for majority of our municipalities. There are some of the cities, some of the bigger ones are self-reliers and do their own work, but we choose as a county to supply those services for many of our municipalities. And then we also had a breakout session, kind of duties of the county clerk, and we just kind of brainstormed with each other. And then Tuesday was interesting. The administrator and the assistant administration from Wisconsin, from the Wisconsin Election Commission came and talked to us. But the funnest one, and I have to read this one, I can't say fun. It was the very intense presentation by Bob Kelly, who is Office of Intelligence and Analytics for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and Marshall Origin he was a special agent from the state of Wisconsin Department of Justice. Elections have become the #1 priority of Homeland Security. So we had a very intense conversation. It was, how did he state it? It wasn't classified, but it was to only be repeated to those who needed to know. So there was very interesting, and election security is a priority that we all have to be involved in, and it's something that we've become more and more measures taken for that. And then the remainder of our time was meetings as our association and some different things. So just that's it in a nutshell.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Jill. So many people ask, what does she do at those? Well, what does anybody do at conferences? Sit in meetings and learn. All right. Thank you, Jill. Okay, the WCEDC reports in our... No, my report is a part of what all happened here today. This is just fantastic meeting all the way around. Really. So... Thank you. The meeting treats today were courtesy of Supervisor Smith. And with that, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn. Okay, then we won't. Supervisor Questman?
I'll make that motion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Questman. Made a motion to adjourn. And Supervisor Craig?
Second.
Second the motion. We are adjourned. Thank you.